Have you ever had a teacher or class that nobody seemed to be able to pass or do well in? However, in the same instance, do you think that should affect teachers negatively when you've also had classes where kids goof off, don't care about their class, don't care about their scores, or if they pass at all? So, evidence gathered by numerous economists, professors, academic researchers, and the director of the National Center on Performance Incentives himself bring promising conclusions to this matter. The current utilization of teacher merit pay programs on student performance is ineffective and troublesome, to say the least. Despite intuitive innovation as an attempt to improve standardized test scores and student performance as a whole, evidence shows that general widespread merit pay programs may not be the solution, and new standards and guidelines are in order for policymakers to provide authentic student assessments. To begin, let me explain why merit pay programs have been attempted and how effective they've been so far. But before that, what is a merit pay program or incentive programs? That is essentially when a teacher is rewarded for how well she did when a student performs academically. So say a student does really good on a standardized test score, they get rewarded for that in a financial bonus. So Harvard professor and economist Roland Fryer viewed this as a method to improve student achievement and quality of teaching in general, and it was expected to motivate teachers to do more engaging activities and provide more personal engagement with their jobs. Before this studies, the possibilities were considered. If teachers don't know how to increase student achievement, so if they don't have the resources or the means to be able to improve the student achievement, to be able to receive those incentives, or conversely, if the program would cause unintended consequences like explicit cheating of this system, like only focusing on those subjects to solely get the incentive, or things like focusing too harshly on standardized testing subjects at the expense of other general education. At the time of this study, teacher quality and aptitude had been declining significantly for the past 40 years, highlighting the need for something new to motivate teachers. However, the current utilization of teacher merit pay programs shows disappointing results, as shown in this slide. That displays average student achievement in treatment and control schools. So basically people that have used incentive programs and how the student's academic outcome has improved with those incentive programs. So this evidence gathered in numerous studies on schools implementing merit pay programs has shown no real improvement in student achievement across the years of the study. A separate study by a fellow professor and economist, Charles Clotfelter, supports Fryer's conclusion, determining that the study was likely undermined by the state's failure to educate teachers of the criteria of the study, and the only improvement reported was reduced mean turnover rate. Even furthermore, an academic researcher associated with the School of Psychology, who primarily focuses her researches on education, teacher performance, and compensation systems, Tian Paijia, has conducted numerous studies with almost identical results, showing only improvement in turnover rates, however also noting that teachers claim they have no significant help and motivation or job stress with incentive programs. Therefore, due to the evidence gathered in multiples of declining teacher aptitude along with failing incentive programs, a better solution has to be in order. A conclusive report by Matthew G. Springer, the director of the National Center on Performance Incentives himself, urges a more carefully crafted study to properly implement an effective compensation reform. So what does Springer imply by this conclusive statement? A much deeper and more thorough study by an author named Sung-Jun Kim breaks down the root of the failing incentive programs. Primarily, the issue is seen to be standardized testing, actually. Specifically, it's focused solely and primarily on subjects like math, reading, and science. Because of this, incentive programs tend to neglect other important subjects crucial to general education. Even more troublesome, teachers who don't teach subjects included in standardized testing can and will easily be marginalized with teacher incentive programs. So if, say, you're a music teacher and obviously the state doesn't provide testing for music, you're kind of marginalized within that because you're not eligible to receive that bonus. Standardized testing alongside merit pay programs actually creates an irony in the concept, brewing incompetence in teachers who ignore other subjects that foster creative teaching, feedback, interpersonal skills, and common sense. So what can be done to improve the system? If policymakers are adamant on implementing incentive programs, they should be interested in student achievement across all learning subjects. Not only would this negate ignorance of valuable subjects, but foster individuality and proper engagement among students, improving performance in the way it was meant to. Peer-reviewed studies urge the Department of Education to develop standards and guidelines that evaluate student performance with authentic assessments that ask students to apply their learned skills in real life. To personally push for this change, anyone can participate in federal rulemaking processes such as public comments or requests to the Department of Education, nominating negotiators to represent your interests during hearings and push for negotiations and legislations, or working with or supporting advocacy organizations that lobby for federal changes. With collective action, reform can be brought to the education system. With properly implemented education reform, new individual-based evaluations would determine merit pay eligibility instead of standardized test results, reducing stress for teachers and students alike. An example or assessment that would be used to authentically evaluate student performance is a portfolio serving as a collection that demonstrates the student's efforts, progress, and achievements across all learned subjects, which would encourage revisions and critical self-reflection on what they've learned, actually, enforcing what they've learned and showing the teachers how much they've improved. Furthermore, under this reform, schools should be given autonomy on whether their district actually requires a merit pay program based on systematic data. This also means the American education system should be more considerate of the needs and situations of each school, as financial situations differ from district to district. Proper allocation of the federal budget should be maintained as per the needs of each school. Under this new system, not only would teachers be more susceptible to bonuses if they genuinely enrich a student's experience, but students would also be fostered by teachers more engaged in creative subjects. Therefore, in conclusion, doing away with the current utilization of merit pay programs and implementing this educational reform would not only provide the desired outcome of enriching student performance, but also provide a reward for the hardworking educators we have here today. Would you want this better future for students and teachers alike? Thank you.
Hell yeah, that's what's up.